Yeah. I'm really debating. It's a little lighter than I like it.
It looks good. You can dye it.
Yeah, I could shave it a lot cheaper.
I tried that about 3 weeks ago, and we had a week with nothing in it, and at the end of it, it just drove me nuts. I shaved it off.
Yeah, the first few weeks are a little tough for me, but I tried to grow a beard a couple years ago, but it was as white as my mustache is, and it just it was too much of a shock to me.
Counselor,
Everyone,
how are you doing?
I think we're ready to go. Call the meeting of the Mojave Board of Directors, Aaron Spaceport, May 18th, 2021. We'll do a roll call. Director Barney, she called in. She won't be making it. She's got weather issues, she says. Director Deaver?
Here.
Director Coleman?
Here.
Director Morgan's here, and Director Ballantyne's here. Are there any additions or changes to the agenda? I'm looking for a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Motion, Deaver.
I second it.
All right, have a motion by Director Deaver, a second by Director Morgan. Were there any questions on the agenda? All in favor, Director Deaver?
Aye.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
Director Morgan?
Aye.
And Director Ballantyne? Aye. Agenda has been approved. Community announcements. Members of the audience may make announcements regarding community events. Is there anyone out there that would like to make an announcement? None being. Item 3, consent agenda. We have 2 items. Item A, minutes of the regular board meeting of May 4th, 21, and check register dated May 13th, 2021 for $73,752.50. Oh. Sorry about that. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion, Deaver.
Thank you, Bill. Can I get a second?
Second, Coleman.
Have a motion by Director Deaver, a second by Director Coleman. All in favor, Director Deaver?
Aye.
Director Coleman?
Aye.
Director Morgan?
Aye.
Director Ballantyne? Aye. Consent agenda is approved. We have no action items. General Manager's report. Todd?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, thank you. Welcome this afternoon. Earlier, on May 6th, had a meeting with Scale Composites. We continue to have very productive meetings, currently considering 3 different possible alternatives surrounding the replacement or relocation associated with Hangar 927. The first alternative that we're looking at would be relocating Scaled Composites from Hangar 927 into 951, which is immediately behind them. The second alternative would include the placement of Scaled Composites in hangars 937 and 938. The reason we're talking about 2 different hangars there is because our 2 additional hangars as opposed to just 1 is because of the size. Hangars 937 and 938 each measure approximately 1,608 square feet, whereas Hangar 927 currently measures about 2,400 square feet. Those 2 hangars would require some additions, improvements, as well as the enclosure of the gap surrounding those 2 hangars and probably the removal of some of the fabric that is currently separating the two hangars. That would be at scaled, whatever they would, their preference as it relates to that, to the opening up, how much they want it opened up, things of that nature. It would also require us to take 3 aircraft from Hangar 937 that are currently being stored there on loan to the Mojave Air and Spaceport for the purposes of placing for public view. That would be a topic or subject that would require the approval of the board before we agreed on a permanent location for displaying those aircraft. In 937, there is a mezzanine that would have to be removed as well. Again, I'm thinking, I can't speak on behalf of the folks at Scale Composites, but I'm thinking that would be an item that they might want removed from that hangar. And the last alternative that we're looking at is the replacement of 927 or building another 927. That would be potentially located between building 63 and 78, or immediately to the west of building 63, placed in a location in a manner which would allow a taxi lane to still flow north and south to feed the general aviation area to the south. Again, I certainly appreciate the folks at Scale meeting with us and enjoy bringing this to a conclusion and identify an amicable solution. The other project, Taxiway Charlie Rehabilitation Project, is moving forward. It's, as you received the email from myself, that project is now approximately 3.5 weeks ahead of schedule, moving faster than we had anticipated, primarily as a result of the electrical folks have been able to really keep pace with the construction folks doing the pavement. That is really not that surprising. I think what was more surprising is the amount of time that was built into the construction schedule that the electrical folks have been able to overcome. Next two pieces there, the Airport Security Plan Review and Update and Hazardous Communications Emergency Response Update, and we'll come back to those. The Director of Operations position, we interviewed for that position over the last week. We interviewed, I think, 12 different candidates. We have come to a conclusion, made a selection, and actually made a verbal offer yesterday. That offer was received and accepted by Mr. Matt Nelson. Mr. Nelson will be receiving a letter offer that will probably is going out today. He'll probably receive it tomorrow, and we anticipate him starting next Monday on this project, in this position. So when you see Mr. Nelson, please welcome him to the Mojave family. I think he's going to work in real well. EDA grant funds, currently working with the folks in Bakersfield and Washington and the local economic development folks to secure some funds to do some hangar development, do some perimeter road projects, and then also look at the possibilities of obtaining some economic development funds to construct long-term commercial space facilities for some of our commercial space tenants. Mead and Hunt, working with them very closely right now to obtain a scope of services and fee, do some analysis of the pavement that's down in the general aviation area. I think many of the folks that are involved in this call or in this meeting are aware of the condition of the pavement down there. Excuse me. It is not in the best of shape. We definitely do need to do as necessary to identify the different alternatives that we may have in addressing that pavement issue down there, and also some of the issues that are associated with the drainage down there as well. Mr. Doug Lloyd just recently began service as an air traffic controller for the Mojave Air Traffic Control Tower. He started on April 13th, and from what I understand from working with Joshua Holyfield, he is starting to really take make the position his own and really come to fruition. Instrument approach procedures. As many of you know, we've been in the process of completing the analysis necessary to complete the procedure to have a runway 30 LPV approach, and it would also include some departure approach off of runway 12. A departure procedures off of runway 12. As a result of the location of Edwards Air Force Base, we've had to enter into a letter of agreement. Also, as part of this project is a new instrument approach for runway 26, which is a RNAV GPS approach. As it turns out, the final approach fix for that runway 26 approach is less than 1 nautical miles, 0.189 nautical miles from the boundary of restricted area 2515. So I was able to work with the folks at Edwards. They have added the runway 26 procedure to the letter of agreement, submitted it to us. We've signed off on it, and it's been returned to the folks at Edwards for completion. Plane Crazy this past Saturday. It was a very good turnout, I thought, for the event. We had, at one point, I know at least 12 aircraft out there, and a lot of members of the public showed up. It was a good event. Mr. Doug Castleman, the artist, was there selling his art, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. It was a good event. If I might go back to the other project I skipped a while ago. So recently it was brought to my attention that there were some issues related to access on the airfield and access provided, to different members of the board and the manner in which we go about issuing that access. And it made me kind of dig in and look at our security procedures and access control. And in doing so, I also found that our emergency response protocol had not been updated, I think, in 12 years, the best I could tell. So we have updated the emergency response hazardous communication procedures, working with Mr. Chris Spandorf. Did a very good job on that. We will be having an exercise here internally over the next week or two, where everybody will be in one room at one time, and we'll be able to make sure everybody knows what their assignment would be in the event of an emergency, given different kinds of emergency. Is it a hazardous materials emergency? Is it a aircraft accident? Is it a wildfire? Depending on the type of emergency we're dealing with, will determine the assignment that different individuals have. Security folks, our admin folks, we're combing through the security plan right now, and also looking at 1542, which is the Code of Federal Regulations that is used to provide airport security. And we'll be coming up with probably some policies and procedures that we'll be sharing with the board, and asking the board to approve those before we implement those into the written airport security plan. One of the items that I have been spending a lot of time with is this book that was put together for me. It's the CEO GM orientation package. Each one of the board members was supposed to receive a document like this. It's very similar. And I think part of the problem with the access control that's been brought to our attention is the fact that after this last election, board members were brought in, they took the oath. However, they were not provided the escort down to our security control and taken through the training and provided the access credentials that they typically are. Again, I think this is partially because it was a change of administration. This board, they didn't know. The new board members didn't realize this is what they were supposed to do it. Nobody within the administration, there was an oversight on the administration's part. So we're trying to go back to correct that at this point and make sure everybody is on the same page.
COVID probably played a factor in that too.
Yes, sir. I'm sure COVID had something to do with that. But as I have been reading through this document, if you will refer to Article 4, Section 4.2, the CEO shall be appointed and hold office at the pleasure of the board. So if you're not garnering much pleasure because of me, I'm not doing my job. So what we've decided to do is develop some social events in accordance with the Brown Act compliance manual, page 10, where some activities can take place to involve board members that will not encroach upon or go against that law. More details to follow on that, but there'll be some things coming up probably in the June timeframe. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Todd. Next item on reports, board committees. I don't believe we have any standing committees that can report. Next item is board of directors. This portion of the meeting is reserved for board members to comment on items not on the agenda. Chuck or Bob?
I had a question for Todd about
Yes, sir.
your presentation. The agreement we're entering with Edwards for 2515. What does that entail? Does it entail moving the boundary of 2515?
Not at all. No.
So
it's an agreement that says simply that they will work with us if we have traffic that needs to enter the restricted area on IFR clearance. They can allow that traffic to enter the restricted area.
so there'll be like a buffer zone approximately near the final fix kind of thing.
Yes, that's how I understand it. Because, 89/100ths of a nautical mile is not much.
Yeah.
And if you're moving at that 200 miles an hour, let's just say, it's probably a lot less than that point, but you could be 200 miles an hour. And you go through that final approach fix, you don't have much room. There's not much room there. So, in essence, Edwards is saying, we will work with you on this, but at any given time, we can deny access.
Okay.
So, good question. Thank you.
Mr. Coleman has a question, if you could.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the taxiway Charlie's ahead of schedule. What's the estimated time? People down in the general aviation area, they're just asking when's it be complete so they can taxi on Charlie. Is that kind of a date that's kind of in the system?
So, the short answer to your question is June 16th is when that portion of Charlie will be completed.
Extend, so that portion?
That phase is when it will be completed. The latest that I have received from the engineering or the construction company and the engineering firm is that the demolition of the hangars will not take place until all paving has been completed.
Okay.
And so I don't anticipate that to occur until the very end of the project. Like August time frame for that.
Okay. So in reference to that, I had one person that had a powered sailplane with a wingspan of 55 feet, and he's curious because it's like close to 60 feet between the hangars, but he's saying, hey, when is Charlie going to be available for a 55-foot span? So it sounds like soonest might be June 16th then?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I can keep you up to date. That's
right.
June 16th is a planned date.
Okay.
This is purely speculation.
Sure.
But at the rate this project has been moving, I could see that date getting slid earlier.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
One other comment question. Did, in discussing the solutions for scaled, was it considered to move the hangar to that spot, like west of 63 or something in that corner?
We haven't explicitly discussed that.
Because it's already got pavement and everything. It might be a cheapest, quickest solution for everybody.
That would be a good solution. It depends on the level of engineering that's going to be required to reassemble that hangar.
Yeah.
And
Or take the one that Dick Rattan used to be in on the east end
yes, sir.
and drag it. You jack it up, put it on
Wheels.
wheels, move it across, and anchor. It's only a couple hundred feet.
Certainly an option we'll consider.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for bringing it to my attention.
All right. Get back to my notes here. Chuck, did you have any more comments?
Not at all. They were answered. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Members of the public may make comments to the board on items not on the agenda. The public out there have any comments to the board? None being, at this time we'll move into closed session. Thank you for everyone for attending. I believe if you want to hang around, you'll be put into the waiting room. And when the board comes out of closed session, we'll do a report and you'll be allowed back into the meeting. Thank you very much.